was listening to this is a radio station. It wasn't the XM that I know of, or it doesn't matter. And on Sunday morning, I was driving somewhere, probably coming home from a gig. Remember gigs? Thanks, coronavirus. Um, and they were doing a Casey Kasem throwback top 40 countdown from whatever. Every Sunday they would do a different top 40 countdown,
Oh,
and
that
it
sounds
was the
like
top
fun.
10 songs of whatever fucking month in 87, 85. I did not recognize most of the songs, and they
Hmm.
sucked. They were really bad. But then when they
I
get like,
mean,
suddenly
yes.
here's number two with Madonna, I'm like, okay, I recognize that because it was big enough to, but most music sucks, and it's always sucked. And when you go back and
Hmm,
say back then things were different, I don't really think they were. I think what happens is
maybe.
Marvin Gaye stands the test of time because he didn't
Hmm.
suck. Bitches Brew stands the
Right.
text the sex of time, the test of time. And the reason I think of Bitches Brew is because that's an album I can put on and listen to different things. There's so much going on there that
Yeah.
it's almost impossible to digest in one sitting. You have to do repeated listens to Bitches Brew. So I guess what you said about things being more raw or different back then, I think just what's good lasts, and the everything else falls to
All
the
right.
side.
All right.
You forget how bad it was.
Tell me who you think in a modern sense. See, but here's what I would wonder. If you took the top 10 songs, top 10 R&B songs from 1974, and you took the top 10 R&B songs from 2020 this week in both years, I wonder if the top 10 R&B songs are going to be as popular and as memorable as the top 10 from 70. Let's say, let's make it like an even 50 years, right? 1970 to 20, right? I
Mhm.
wonder if you took this same month, this same week from both years, if in 50 years, people are going to still be thinking about what the top 10 songs are today in the same way that we think about the top 10 for 74. And I don't know that the top 10 for 74 are or 70 or anything, but what I can say is that I can think about Willie Nelson songs. I can think about Stevie Wonder songs, Roberta Flack songs. I can think about Santana. I can think about all kinds of stuff that I can pinpoint as from this time for this era where these songs were fantastic. And I wonder if the songs that are hits today will stand the test of time in the same way. I don't know. I mean, again, like you say, we're old fucks. You know what I mean? Like as George Carlin says, we're not old farts, we're old fucks. You know what I mean? And if that's the case, you know, maybe we are just so out of touch that we think it's not going to be popular. But in 50 years, they're going to be doing that. Yes, you in the
I've been
back.
looking. I've been looking for a pen to write something down so I wouldn't forget because I didn't want to interrupt you again. I have two thoughts.
Feel free to.
I'll do my thoughts. I'll in reverse order. So because I have a question, and I'll do my first thought second, so that I can ask the question and let you run with it. As far as us being old, um, college football just started this past week again. It had been shut down because of COVID, but they had a game, and I went down a 30-mile bike ride, and I ended up in downtown Iowa City at one point. And Iowa City, to those that don't know, is a college town. Hawkeye football, very big, and I ended up, by college students going down a whole row of, where they rent houses and fraternity. And I swear to you, I didn't realize it until probably the third one, but then I noticed at least two more. Like I was riding by a house and I went, oh, cool, yeah. They're all outside, even though it's cold. They're playing hacky sack and blaring music and drinking beer and tailgating at home. So I go by and I'm like, oh, cool, AC/DC. And then I go by the next house and I'm like, oh, Def Leppard. And it was the third one. I'm like, wait a second, like I don't remember what it was, maybe Bon Jovi, but I'm like, I realize like all these 20-year-old kids are listening to the 80s rock. It was fraternities, it
Yeah.
was guys. I'm like, well, that's interesting. None of them were listening to anything from today. And then once I noticed that and came across two more, so there is something to be said. Maybe it's retro or now it's classic rock because we are old. So that's one thought as far as enduring songs go. But then here's my question. This is the second thought I had. When it comes to comparing R&B from then to R&B to today, what the fuck is R&B today? because when you and I were
Well,
growing up,
okay, that's
it was
valid.
rhythm and blues. It was rhythm
Right.
and blues. It was Ray Charles. It was Marvin Gaye. And at then some point during our life, I think it was the 80s, Janet Jackson came out with something. And in 1984, Rhythm Nation, decent album, listenable, fun. But they said it was R&B. And I'm like, that's not R&B. And at some point, R&B just became
Mm.
black. And it has nothing to do
Hmm.
with rhythm or blues. And
Hmm.
when did that change and what happened? And how is R&B with neither rhythm nor blues these days? I am genuinely confused as a honky American.
I mean,